All right, I call the meeting back to order. We are moving now to House File 3966. Oh, I'm sorry, Representative Kraft. Sorry, 4233. I apologize, Representative Kraft. House File 4233. Move your bill, House File 4233, be re-referred to the General Register. Representative Kraft, you have an A2 authors amendment.
Thank you, Mr. Chair and Chair Koznick. The A2, I move the A2 to get the bill in the format I'd like it considered. By the way, it also represents working through and clarifying some language with stakeholders so that everyone is on board.
Thank you very much. Any discussion on the A2 amendment? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? The motion prevails. Representative Kraft, please explain your bill.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. One of the areas where this committee has jurisdiction is around pipeline safety. Most people know 811, call before you dig, or go for state 1 call. Before digging, contractors must call 811 so utilities can locate or mark their underground facilities. This process is really important because there's more and more stuff underground: gas lines, cable lines, phone lines, sometimes power lines, and more fiber and broadband. You don't want to take out cable or internet, and you definitely don't want to hit a gas line. This bill is about improving communications in this area by codifying something called electronic positive response. There's a great one-pager in your packet about it, but simply it's about having a structured electronic way of reporting the status of these locate requests. So everyone knows what the status is, where to look for it, and what number to call for your utility if there's an issue. AGC, Associated General Contractors, initiated the stakeholders' discussions that have led to this legislation. And with the amendment, it represents agreement from the various stakeholders involved on codifying this best practice. And with that, I have a testifier.
Thank you very much, Representative Kraft. Your testifier, I apologize. Mr. Haas, please come forward. Say your name for the record and proceed.
My name is John Haas. Mr. Chair, members of the committee, thank you for the opportunity to testify today. Again, my name is John Haas. I serve as the Director of Lean Operations for VITE, also here on behalf of AGC. I'm here today in support of House File 4220 or 4233 and express our appreciation to the stakeholders who worked with us, and also Representative Kraft for bringing this legislation forward. At VITE, our teams work on complex infrastructure and utility projects across Minnesota. Safety and coordination around underground utilities are essential parts of our work. One of the most important tools we have is the 811 system, coordinated through the Go for State 1 call. Electronic positive response allows excavators to confirm whether a utility has been marked, indicated a clear work area, or needs additional coordination between excavators and facility operators before the excavation begins. This closes the communication loop between utilities and excavators and helps crews know the status of a locate request before we start digging. The good news is that the vast majority of utilities in Minnesota are already using electronic positive response. This legislation simply ensures that all facility operators participate in the same system and that accurate information is maintained so issues in the field can be resolved in a timely manner. House File 4233 strengthens communication, improves accountability, supports safer excavation practices across Minnesota. Thank you again to Representative Kraft for his leadership on this issue, and thank you to the committee for consideration. I'm available for any questions.
Thank you very much. Appreciate you being here. Is there anyone else in the audience that would like to testify on this bill? All right, seeing none, thank you very much. Questions from the committee? Any questions? All right, thank you very much. Chair Koznick, anything you have to add?
I support the bill.
Representative Kraft, any closing comments?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And Chair Koznick, if I heard you support the bill, thank you. I'd appreciate a vote to send this on to the General Register. It's about improving safety, so thank you.
With that, Representative Kraft renews his motion that House File 4233 as amended be re-referred to the General Register. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Anyone opposed? The motion prevails. All right. Thank you very much, Representative Kraft. Representative Jones, House File 3966. Again, it is great to have you back in the hearing room.
Glad to be back. Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you, members of the committee, for the opportunity to present House File 3966, a common sense bill that will help us enforce our laws and ensure efficient delivery of an important public service.
And Representative Jones moves that House File 3966 be re-referred to the Judiciary, Finance, and Civil Law Committee. So did you have, yeah, you have an A1 authors amendment?
Yes, I'd like to move the A1.
Thank you very much. Representative Jones moves the A1 amendment. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Anyone opposed? The motion prevails. To your bill as amended, Representative Jones.
All right, thank you, Mr. Chair. And I can't actually see the screen. Is there a?
Now you're not.
Oh, I did something.
You will help.
I love it.
Do you want to do that? Yeah.
Here's the other one with the pictures. Okay, it's fine. We'll just go without it. Yeah. It's fine. Just, well, that's, I'll just leave it. Thanks. Okay. We'll just get going. So I had prepared just two photos. It unfortunately isn't coming up here, but as many folks know, I'm a regular bus rider, and I occasionally just happen to have my camera ready when we get stuck in traffic in the red bus lanes, and it's because a vehicle has been stopped or parked there. But I hope that with this bill, we can make that situation a thing of the past. I'll note my son is already a bus rider, and I want to make a better future for little Hans so that he never gets stuck in bus lane traffic ever again. We invest tens of millions of dollars to make critical improvements in our transit service by upgrading local transit routes to bus rapid transit routes with the aim of improving speed and reliability. More of these routes are including dedicated transit lanes because those dedicated lanes have been shown to improve speed and reliability. This bill is designed to ensure the purpose of these transit investments are met. In short, we need to free the buses. This bill empowers transit operators and local governments to work together to enforce the existing rules of transit and bike lanes with the use of cameras on buses. Local governments already have the authority to ticket illegally stopped and parked vehicles. This bill simply gives them a more efficient tool to conduct enforcement. Cameras located on the exterior of the buses. I know many on this committee appreciate innovative technology, and this camera technology can now narrowly focus on identifying vehicles in the bus lanes, and this bill language restricts camera usage to just that. And the data protections and ticket structure mirror those in the traffic camera safety pilot statute already in law. So our transportation system is supposed to provide access to destinations to get people where they need to go safely. That's why we have the rules of the road. It's important that those rules are followed, and this bill makes sure that that happens, and also in a way that ensures privacy is appropriately protected. So I will welcome up two testifiers to talk to this bill.
Thank you very much, Representative Jones. First on the list is Mr. Steve Huser. Please state your name for the record and proceed.
Thank you, Mr. Chair and members of the Transportation Committee. My name's Steve Huser. I'm a Senior Government Relations Representative with the City of Minneapolis. The City of Minneapolis supports House File 3966, and we want to thank Representative Jones for carrying it. Ensuring that our bus and bike lanes are free from illegally parked vehicles ensures that the investments that we have made, usually with other local and state government partners, are able to be utilized as they are intended. Some specific examples from the City of Minneapolis, we have 52 Metro Transit buses that are regularly blocked at 7th Street and Nicollet Mall pretty much every day. On average, bus lane blockages last approximately 2 minutes. 7th Street at Nicollet Mall and Lake at Lyndale Avenue have an average of 3 blockages that last over 10 minutes every day. This leads to less efficient transit rides and impacts all those who are on those lines. The impacts to bicycle riders and their safe use of the bike lanes is also not acceptable. We are working with the author to look at some of the more technical aspects of the bill, just to make sure that the interaction between local government and Metro Transit is exactly how we want it to operate. And we've begun that work, and we will continue to work with the author as it progresses. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you very much, Mr. Huser. We have another testifier who is on Zoom, so we'll see how well Zoom treats us today. Director, Legislative Regulatory Affairs, Ann Shikani. I apologize if I messed up your name there, but if you please introduce yourself and proceed.
Hi, I'm Ann Shikani. Thank you to co-chairs Tabke and Kosnick and vice chairs Rem and Myers. I'm really happy to be here with the Transportation Finance Policy Committee this evening. I'm sorry I can't be there in person due to the inclement weather you all have experienced, but I appreciate this opportunity.
Ms. Shikani, could you please hold on a second? Could we make this a little louder at all? It's just very quiet on our end, so I'm not sure if it's a volume side or if you could, just shout at us would be great.
All right, is this any better?
It is slightly better, but we'll roll with it. So we're on max on this side, so yeah, roll. Thank you.
Okay, I'll project. So Hayden AI is a transportation technology firm that works to improve transit operations. And today I'm here to talk to you to support the passage of HB 3966, which would improve Metro Transit's or provide Metro Transit Authority for vehicle-mounted automated parking enforcement of bus stop zones, bus lanes, and bike lanes. This new authority would improve access, safety, and reliability for transit riders across Metro Transit service area, especially for seniors and disabled Minnesotans. It'll also protect the investment that Minnesota has made in its BRT system. Vehicle-mounted automated parking enforcement systems are cameras and a computer that sit inside the bus and monitor the roadway for parking violations. Together, the system can automatically detect potential violations. It'll capture a short video and still images that are packaged for parking enforcement agents to review and ultimately decide if a citation will be issued. So when this legislation is passed, Metro Transit will be joining its peers in a best practice. We've seen these programs are successful in all different kinds of transit markets, and there's been proven results. Some of the other markets that we're in include New York's MTA, Washington, D.C.'s WMATA, we're in Philadelphia, Chicago, Los Angeles, Sacramento, Oakland, California, a number of other California cities, and we're also in procurement in Boston. But the reason that these are important are because of the results of the program. Blocked bus stops are safety hazards, especially for disabled transit users. With enforcement, anyone with a disability that requires a mobility support device can guarantee that they'll have a safe boarding experience. That means that wheelchair ramps can be deployed, buses can pull directly up to the stop, and disabled users can board. As we've seen in New York City, we've seen benefits that include bus speeds improving, a 40% reduction in bus stop violations, 20% fewer collisions on enforced routes, and violators learn their lesson. Only 91% only receive 1 ticket. This means we're actually seeing a change in behavior. And in Washington, D.C., they've seen faster buses as well. Their program is called Clear Lanes. We've seen an increase of 13% in speeds on Clear Lanes, while outside of the zone, other routes are falling, speeds have fallen 11% as they've returned to work. They've seen a decrease in violations as well, 40% 41% decrease in bus lanes and 30% decreases in bus stop violations. And like I said, disability access is improved with 10% increase in wheelchair ramp deployments on clear lanes routes, with over 1,000 deployments per day. And as we discussed, our technology is privacy by design, and the bill is also written to conform with existing Minnesota data privacy requirements for speed and red light cameras. Our bill bans the use of biometric tools such as facial recognitions. Images can only be used for parking and transit purposes. They cannot be used by other law enforcement. And the technology only captures, as I said, a short video and images of the violations. All other footage is deleted, and we would comply with strict data retention and destruction requirements. And there is also human review. Review is by a trained parking enforcement agent before any citation is issued. I'm here if you have any questions, and thank you for considering HB 3966.
Thank you so much, Mr. Shikani. I appreciate you being here and for your great testimony. So thank you very much. Anyone else in the audience who would like to testify for or against this bill? All right, seeing none, member questions. Anyone have questions on the bill? Representative Joy. Representative Murphy after that. It's going to confuse me.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. One of the questions I have for this bill is, what is the cost of this program? I see it's in a blank appropriation in here. Do we have a fiscal order to kind of have an idea what the cost is?
Oh, I don't have it.
Representative Jones.
Yeah, thank you. I was looking for a switch. I don't have one. So this bill is really designed to make sure that it's giving the authority to the transit agencies to be able to do this. Under that, the transit agencies could use their own existing funds. We put an appropriation in there in case we could find additional funds, so it could be on top of what transit agencies already have, but we don't necessarily need an appropriation in order to pass this and for it to give the transit agencies this authority.
Representative Joy.
Chair, would we be able to then possibly do an oral amendment to say there'll be zero fiscal cost to this so that we know that when it leaves this committee?
I think that we'll ask over nonpartisan staff here about if that is an amendment that we could do. Gotta pull it up and just look. What are you suggesting, Representative Joy?
Well, as we heard, there's an appropriations in here that says ... in fiscal year. And many times in the legislature, I've seen bills go through ... and then there's, in the tails, there's money spent. And I think Representative Jones says that probably the bus companies will absorb this. And if there was money given, we would, but she's saying it probably won't cost money from the state or from the general, so we could put say that there's no fiscal cost so that we know that this bill would be a neutral of zero.
Got it. Representative Jones.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you, Representative Joy. I would entertain that because I think it's important to give the transit agencies this authority. I would love to be able to cover the costs if we're able to do that, and so that's why we put this appropriation in there. But I would be happy to entertain that.
Mr. Burris, would that, so what I hear Representative Joy and Representative Jones discussing is section 8, line 1010 through 1013, deleting that? Is that what, are you okay with that?
Yes.
Okay.
Mr. Chair and members, so the oral amendment could simply delete section 8, which is on page 10 of the bill. That would be one piece of what was discussed. Another piece is affirmatively directing the department, this would be Department of Transportation as a potential entity that might incur some costs associated with development of standards for the camera. So another potential component of an oral amendment could be to direct the department to use existing resources to implement the requirements of this section. So there are sort of a couple of different options for an oral amendment if you wanted to.
Mr. Chair.
Representative Joy.
It seems a little more complicated to just strike it like I think is it's easy language, so I think I'll just withdraw even adding an amendment like that.
Thank you.
I do have a couple more questions if I can continue.
Proceed.
Another question is I know it talks about vehicles facing forward when there's vehicles blocking the lanes. What happens when there's a whole bunch of protesters standing in that lane? Then who gets the ticket, or how do they distribute the tickets on that?
Representative Jones.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, Representative, for the question. This bill is tailored to parked and stopped vehicles and enforcing those laws.
Representative Joy.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So the only thing that these cameras will be watching is anything in those lanes that are parked or stopped vehicles, nothing else obstructing that. Okay.
That is correct.
Then one more question. I guess more of I'm just going to say it. So one of the things I'm concerned about is we heard recently about transit costing money and up to $209 subsidies and what it's costing us. This worries me a little bit is if they do take on the appropriations, or if we do, it's costing the state, or if they do, it could impact of what it's going to cost riders, if the bus companies decide to put these equipment on. So I guess I just have some concern, but thank you, Mr. Chair.
We love you looking out for those transit riders. Thank you for that. Representative Murphy.
Mr. Chair, may I respond to that?
Oh, for sure.
So I would like to note, so similar to any other parking ticket, there is a fine then associated with that, and that would be created within these standards. And so that would then also, help to mitigate that.
Representative Murphy.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, Representative Jones. My question is are these cameras capable of collecting other data besides the license plate?
Representative Jones.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you, Representative, for that question. I may ask my testifier, Ann, if she's still on, if she can help answer that.
Mr. Connie, please, did you hear the question?
I did hear the question. So I can confirm that the only license plate that is read by the license plate reader camera is the violating vehicle. No other license plates are scooped up. And other data that is seen by the camera, unless it's a violation, is deleted. We do have the capability for blurring if needed, so faces and other license plates of non-offending vehicles can be blurred. So no other information is generally kept or stored.
Thank you. Representative Murphy.
Mr. Chair, thank you. So the data is collected, but it's deleted.
Mr. Connie.
The camera is running and it sees the street, and then unless there is a violation detected, that data is deleted.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Representative Green. Oh, wait. Representative Jones would like to respond.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. And if I can just expand on this, my understanding is that when a violation is triggered by the camera, that then it goes to a person for a real human review. And so it is the things that are collected that are of concern are already blurred out before it goes to a person for that review, if that makes sense.
Correct. Yes, the blurring
Representative Green.
happens on the edge on the device.
Yeah.
Oh, Ms. Chicani, did you have something else?
I was just explaining that blurring and all of that happens on the edge on the device.
Got it.
On the
Thank you.
bus.
Representative Green.
Thank you so much, Chair. Thank you, Representative Jones, for bringing this bill. I'm really excited about this bill that you've brought forward. One of the things that I think, and it's in this presentation, but if you could talk to it just for a minute about what they're seeing in other cities with the decrease in actually cars continuing to park in bus lanes, that it's just an incredible deterrent. So at the onset, there are more parking tickets given, but then that goes away because people just know, don't do that anymore. So if you could speak to that for a minute, that would be great.
Representative Jones.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, Rep. Green, for the question. Yeah, we had a little bit of confusion of which slide deck which went to which speaker. And so Ms. Chicani had been talking about this PowerPoint that is in your packet. And so you'll see here, both in New York City and in Washington, D.C., they've had tremendous success in the use of this technology. We're seeing faster buses in D.C., where the bus enforced lanes, the speeds were 13% higher. The violations have decreased over time, so 41% decrease in bus lane violations, and then a 30% decrease in bus stop violations. So this all means that our transit system is running faster, more efficiently. People are getting to where they need to go. People are getting to school, to work, to grocery stores, to to their healthcare, and they're doing so in a more timely way. And that's, I think, what we want from our public service and public services, is that it's running how people expect it to be in a reliable way.
Thank you. Representative Scraba.
Thank you, Chair. Representative Jones, what if the vehicle is registered, the owner is what if the person driving it isn't the owner? How does the ticket get to that person instead of the owner?
Representative Jones.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. So the way the bill is written is it goes to the owner or to the leasee of the vehicle. And so if you own a vehicle, that vehicle is your responsibility. It's registered to you. And so that's why we've connected the violation that way.
Representative Scraba.
So if someone's borrowing a vehicle and these tickets start showing up at that person's home, are they responsible for it? And they have to go chase the driver down that was using it? You know,
Representative Jones.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, Rep. Scraba, for the question. I mean, I would hope that every driver who's loaning out their car knows who they're loaning it to. Otherwise, it's a stolen vehicle, and that's a different enforcement issue that we have. And so I've heard in situations, especially in Minneapolis with the traffic safety cameras, situation. I actually have a friend who's talking to her this weekend. She's like, yeah, my daughter has received 2 tickets from that. And you know who's paying those? It's coming from her, allowance or whatever. And so, the owner of the vehicle is then ultimately responsible for paying it, and if it's their child or whomever, it's in their purview then to decide how to be compensated for that.
Last one, Representative Scraba.
yes, thank you, Chair. One of the things that last time we were here, I was reading about how fraud, if someone's using a different license plate, and I realize then it gets kicked to another fine, but whose responsibility is if they switch license plate and they keep getting these tickets and there's nowhere, that person doesn't exist? Whose responsibility is it then? How much time does it take? Things like that. It just seems really difficult to follow.
Representative Jones.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair and Representative Scraba. I think that is a case in which, just like within any parking violation, you can appeal it, and that is when an individual would make the case that, hey, my car was stolen or my license plate was stolen, and be able to resolve it through that mechanism.
The question is, what if I'm a nefarious person and I change the license plate and then I just carry on my day?
Representative Scraba, I'm confused as to what if part of that. Sorry.
It's a good one.
Continue.
Yes. If someone is nefarious and they change the license plate on purpose, knowing that they're going to be parked there every day, how do you chase that person down? Who's going to do the work to catch that person?
Representative Jones.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chair and Representative Scraba. I think I understand your question now. So if the nefarious, you're worried about the nefarious person not being caught. Well, right now the problem is a lot of the nefarious people are not being caught. So with a lot of our laws, we're not able to catch people and enforce 100% of the time. But this is making a big leap, a big step forward in making sure that we have fewer vehicles parked and stopped in bus lanes. The other thing I'll note is that the current enforcement mechanism is literal physical people going out and patrolling and handing out paper tickets. So that doesn't go away. It is still a part of the system. And so if we think that there's a problem location, that could be a strategy that a city or a local municipality employs to get more closer to that 100%.
Thank you. Representative Sensimura.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just wanted to respond a little bit to Representative Scraba's question. So if you look at lines 5.21, I believe that this is building off of language that was in the speed safety camera bill. So it's talking about limitations and basically what your defense what kind of the process is if you want to go through the process of saying it actually wasn't me. So if it was a medical emergency, or if your car was stolen at the time, if you had transferred the lease. And similar to what Representative Jones said, you know, it's same thing as a parked car, right? People, if someone steals your car and then leaves it parked somewhere and you get a parking ticket, you're gonna have to go through that process. So our law kind of already has some built in, and I think it's the balance of trying to make sure there's a process people can go through if it wasn't their car, and saying like, we need to try to hold people accountable, and there's a lot of reasons why we don't want to use a face show recognition reader, so I think this is the best option we have right now.
Any further discussion on the bill? I thank you very much, Representative Jones, for bringing this. I really, really like this bill. It is something that is necessary to make sure that these lanes are free and clear and open and be able to work the way they're supposed to work. It's a traffic and pedestrian safety issue. It's a transit rider issue. And so I just really appreciate you bringing this forward and having this move forward. So any further questions?
What is the motion before?
The motion on this one is, just make sure I get to the right one, House File 3966, as amended, be re-referred to the Judiciary, Finance, and Civil Law Committee. Chair Kosnick.
Thanks for doing the work on this. I did meet with the advocates for it, the camera people, basically, in the interim, I think it was, right before session. I haven't heard from transit operators that this is something that's needed. I haven't heard any testimony today in support of that. I would be concerned with the additional mandate that this would create for our transit service, but so I think it needs a little bit more work, and I won't be supporting it today.
Okay. Representative Jones.
Yeah, thank you, Chair Tabke and Co-Chair Kosnick. So I have talked to Metro Transit, to several staff members there, and this is something that has been on their, it's been on their radar for a long time. It's the thing that they've been wanting to get to, and so, yeah, I'll just say that I've had positive conversations with them.
Thank you. All right. Seeing no further discussion, Representative, I got to get back to my notes. Sorry, Representative Jones renews her motion that House File 3966, as amended, be re-referred to the Judiciary, Finance, and Civil Law Committee. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed say no.
No.
The motion does not prevail. All right. Next on our agenda, Representative Kraft, as unless you have
Leave it dead? No.
what? Yeah.
Why am I not seeing the text message?
No, who says? All right, moving forward, House File 3430, Representative Kraft moves that House File 3430 be re-referred to the Taxes Committee. Representative Kraft, you have an A1 amendment.
I thought 3430 was being laid over.
We can also do that? Yeah, I have it in the notes as Texas, but all right, so House File 3430 be laid over.
Yes.
All right, so you have an A1 amendment?
Yeah, the A1 amendment gets the bill in the way I would like it considered, using curb weight as opposed to gross vehicle weight rating in the weight portion of the bill.
I'm sorry, I was not listening to what you were saying. Could you please say it again?
I move the A1 gets the bill in the way I'd like it considered. It basically is using curb weight versus gross vehicle weight rating.
Thank you. Any questions on the A1 amendment? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Anyone opposed? The motion prevails. Representative Kraft, to your bill.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So first of all, I would love to pass something like this bill. I do at least want to start, perhaps continue a conversation really about.
There's two amendments.
Oh, yes. But this is. Yeah, that was just the author's amendment to get it where he wants it at. He'll explain the bill and then we'll come to your amendment after that. Whoever's amendments. Thank you.
Okay, so I'm explaining the bill, and then we're going to do the other amendment?
Yes.
Okay. All right, great. So as I said, while I'd love to pass something like this, I at least want to start a conversation about really the insanity of our current approach to EV fees. A few principles I'd like to start with that I used in my approach to this bill that I would suggest would be a good way of how we should frame this discussion. One is revenue neutrality. This is not about cutting the amount we spend on roads and bridges. I've endeavored to create at least a revenue neutral approach, and actually with the revenue note, it is more than revenue neutral, it's actually revenue positive. Now, I'll talk about part of the reason that it's a little bit obscured in the revenue note is that there were a couple of amendments being contemplated when it was created, excuse me, the fiscal note. And the second one, A2, has not been put on the bill. So if you remove the impacts of that, this is net increase in funding for roads and bridges. So first, revenue neutrality. Second, EVs should pay their fair share, but not more than their fair share. There's a strong argument I can make that they should be paying less because they have huge public health benefits as compared to fossil fuel vehicles in terms of improved air quality and reduced greenhouse gas emissions, but it's not what I'm saying. I'm saying let's pay their fair share. And the other piece is more use, less safety should equal more fees. Simply, if you use the roads more, you should pay more. If you have vehicles that cause more safety issues or put more wear and tear on the roads, you should pay more. So that's the approach that I've taken. The current situation, if you look at EV fees that we have in place as compared to gas vehicle fees, EV fees right now are 2x to 4x the fees on similar gas vehicles. If you look at the upfront amount versus a typical amount that a gas vehicle would spend based on the gas tax. It's 2x if you mostly charge at home, and it's 4x if you mostly charge at public charging stations. So what I'm proposing here is that we get back to a fixed EV surcharge fee of $100, and let me share why this is reasonable. All right. If you look at the amount of miles a car drives in a year, this is from 2022 MnDOT, 13,957 miles. And by the way, if you think about the gas tax, you pay less if you drive less, and you pay less if you have a fuel-efficient vehicle. So 31.8 cents per gallon is the gas tax. At something that is, at a car that gets 40 miles per gallon, that would be $111. At 50 miles per gallon, which is a Prius, which I would say that EVs are at least as fuel efficient as those, that's $89. I should mention that the MPG equivalent of EVs tends to be over 100 miles per gallon. The other piece about this is if you look, I use that 13,957 miles per year, but all the studies show that EVs tend to be driven less than gas cars. So that's why I've proposed $100. Now, to make up the theoretical drop in revenue from EVs, and by the way, I say theoretical because with what we're doing now, we're disincenting EVs in Minnesota, which will have an impact, could have an impact on their uptake. What I'm proposing is that we start recognizing the impact into safety and higher costs that heavier vehicles have on safety and on our roads. If you're hit by a heavier vehicle, you're far more likely to die, and they cause more damage to our roads. By the way, right, EVs do tend to be heavier than gas cars with the batteries. So this should mean that this will disproportionately impact them versus gas vehicles, but at least it's based on something tied to some kind of logic. So with that, I believe I have some testifiers on the list.
Thank you very much. Our first testifier is Ms. Amanda Doerr. Please state your name for the record and proceed.
Right. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
And we're going to keep this to 2 minutes, just so you know, because today's been fun, so we're going to make sure to get out of here on
Yeah,
time.
I'll keep it snappy. My name is Amanda Dewar. I'm the Director of Government Affairs for the Minnesota Automobile Dealers Association, representing our state's franchise new car dealers. This bill is unique because there's parts of it that we like and there's parts of it we have concerns about. On behalf of MADA, I participated in the Electricity as Vehicle Fuel Working Group. One of the recommendations of that working group was to return to a flat surcharge for EVs and plug-in hybrids rather than the MSRP-based formula that was enacted last session. We were one of the groups that strongly advocated for this change, so we do like sections 1 and 2 of this bill. Unfortunately, section 3 is another story. It imposes a weight-based surcharge on all vehicles in the state over 5,000 pounds, which is a concept that wasn't ever discussed in the working group. With Minnesota's registration taxes already being amongst the highest in the nation and on a very slow depreciation schedule, adding additional surcharge on top of registration taxes would make vehicles less affordable to consumers, which is a major concern. A few examples: a 2026 Chevy Silverado with an MSRP of $57,000 would pay $912 in registration taxes plus a 10% weight surcharge of $91, making the total due $1,003. A 2026 Kia EV9 with an MSRP of $54,900 would pay $865, a 7% weight surcharge of $60 plus a $100 EV surcharge for a grand total of $1,025. It's true many states base their registration tax on vehicle weight, but those states typically use a nominal base fee plus the weight calculation. To be clear, MADA isn't opposed to having the conversation about changing to a weight-based taxation model, just not in addition to our already extremely high MSRP-based registration tax. So thank you very much for your time.
Thank you very much. Next, we have Anjali Bains from Fresh Energy. Please state your name for the record and proceed when you're ready.
Thank you, chairs and committee members. My name is Untitled Chapter, and I lead the transportation policy team at Fresh Energy. Fresh Energy is a more than 30-year-old clean energy advocacy nonprofit based in St. Paul, and I was also part of the working group that Amanda Dewar mentioned. We are here today in support of House File 3430. While EV sales have increased in the last several years, they still comprise only 1% of our passenger vehicle fleet. As such, they are not the main cause of lagging revenues into our highway fund, which to date is primarily due to the rising cost of maintaining our expanding physical infrastructure and decades-long improvements in fuel efficiency for gas vehicles. As a result of those fuel efficiency improvements, the gas tax, the most commonly known funding mechanism for a highway fund, only actually makes up about a third of our state's highway fund revenues. This means a holistic approach to new and sustainable highway funding that considers both gas vehicles and electric vehicles is required to plug the highway funding gap, as the weight adder mentioned this proposal does. Taxing EVs more is not the right approach. As many analyses have shown, including what Representative Kraft mentioned, the current EV surcharge unfairly burdens EVs with higher fees than their gas counterparts at a time when affordable EV options are growing, especially in the used market, where the vast majority of Americans purchase their cars. EVs offer tremendous opportunities for Minnesotans to save. For those who can charge at home, EVs can offer $1,500 to $2,000 worth of annual savings from lower fuel maintenance costs as compared to the average gas vehicle today. That is significant and is especially helpful in moments of intense oil price spikes like we're in right now. With many used EV options now available under $15,000, savings are within reach for many more Minnesotans. With federal support for EVs gone, state actions matter more than ever. We ask members to support House File 3430 as a first step to finding a long-term solution to our complex highway funding challenge while helping Minnesotans take care of their pocketbook. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Then we have a couple of Zoom testifiers here with us today. First is Ben Kretzner from Electric Vehicle Owner. Ben, please state your name for the record and proceed. Thank you for being here with us.
Good evening, co-chairs Dean Kosnick and members of the committee. My name is Benjamin Kretzinger. I'm an electric vehicle owner and Minneapolis resident. I'm also a former committee page, so it's great to be back at the House. And I want to just say thank you as well to Representative Kraft for bringing the bill forward. And I want to be clear, I believe EV owners should pay their fair share and fund Minnesota's roads and bridges. And the current system is incredibly inequitable. As a current EV owner, I pay about 4 times as much as I would if I was driving a conventional internal combustion engine vehicle of a similar size and weight to the vehicle I currently drive. And HF 3430 makes a meaningful step towards correcting that. I do also want to encourage the committee to go further and really give serious consideration to a mileage-based fee system that would charge me based on how much I drive, since that way I will be encouraged to drive less, and it will mirror the gas tax, which also encourages people to drive less and is more efficient in that way. I also think the committee should give serious charge to repealing the surcharge on public EV charging, because that tax mostly falls on residents like me who live in apartment buildings and use that tax. Most of the revenue will come from us and not from people who will drive through Minnesota roads. And I just want to say thank you for the time, and I'm available to answer any questions the committee has.
Thank you so very much. Appreciate it. And next, we also have on Zoom Brendan Jordan. Please introduce yourself and proceed for the. Please introduce yourself for the record and proceed.
Chairs Kosnick and Tabke, my name is Brendan Jordan. I'm here representing Drive Electric Minnesota. I will keep it brief because the author and the other testifiers have already made some of the great points that I hope to make. But Drive Electric Minnesota supports having EVs pay their fair share, but we do believe that the legislature might have overshot the mark a bit in 2025 in greatly increasing the annual EV surcharge for EVs and adding a new tax on EV charging. We thank Representative Kraft for bringing House File 3430 forward, and we support it. And we do believe that it would result in a more equitable system. We would also encourage consideration of eliminating or delaying the EV charging tax, as has been stated. The rationale for this was to capture out-of-state EV drivers. The unintended consequence is that Minnesotan EV drivers, particularly those who rent and rely on public charging, are being double taxed. They're already paying an EV fee in lieu of the gas tax, and then they have to pay again when they go use a public charging station. Disproportionately impacting renters, and also slowing down new investment into desperately needed expansion of our EV charging network in the state. We support a reasonable EV fee. We also support consideration of a mileage-based alternative as an opt-in for EV drivers to have the choice, and we're opposed to the charging station taxes. Thank you very much again, Representative Kraft, for bringing forward House File 3430.
Thank you very much, Mr. Jordan. Representative Jones.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you, Representative Kraft, for bringing this forward. I agree we need, I think, we overshot last year, so I appreciate your thoughtfulness in this approach. You had noted a connection between safety and car weight. Can you elaborate more on that?
Representative Kraft.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you, Representative Jones. I don't have the data in front of me.
Representative Kraft, you could hold on for a second. Just so you know, babies crying are very, very welcome in the Transportation Committee. So do not worry about leaving. It is all good. Representative Kraft.
Thank you, Mr. Chair and Representative Jones. I don't have the data in front of me. You may actually, because I know you've looked into this, but I do know that with increased weight in a car-to-car accident, there's more likely to be death, and especially in a interaction between a car and a pedestrian or a bicyclist, the likelihood of fatal injury or death goes up substantially with weight of a vehicle.
Representative Jones.
Yeah, thank you for that. I also don't have the data in front of me, but I appreciate that connection. I had heard it mentioned that the EV task force, or the electric fuel charging task force, didn't take into account weight, and so there was kind of some concern around that. And I'll say this: I have concern around that it's not being considered. Both the weight and I think the size of vehicles, we have seen more and more that there's been a correlation between pedestrian injury and death, especially of small children, as cars get bigger. And so I think it's agnostic, honestly, of whether it's an EV or an ICE vehicle, internal combustion engine vehicle, that we should be looking at the size of the vehicle, both from a weight perspective and the height of the grille perspective as well. So I'd love, as you continue to work on this bill, I'd love to see that incorporated some way as well.
Representative Kraft. Anything further on that? No. Nope. All right. Representative Green.
Thank you so much, Chair. And thank you so much, Representative Kraft, for bringing this bill. I have a question about the revenues. Where would the revenue from this fee be deposited?
Representative Kraft.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, Representative Green. This is in the highway, HUTD, highway user tax. I never remember how that all goes, but the highway funds. Yeah.
Representative Green.
Yep, I have one
And if you
follow-up
want,
question.
I'm sure House Research can make sure I get the name right.
Mr. Lee.
Mr. Chair and members, it is the Highway User Tax Distribution Fund.
It was close.
You were very close. Well done. Representative Green.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. I have one follow-up question. So then if we have that, that revenue goes into that fund, could that be used to create more EV infrastructure? Are we allowed to use those funds for that purpose?
Representative Kraft.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, Representative Green. Right now, no, we cannot use it for that.
Representative Green.
Okay, thank you. Thanks, Chair. Thank you.
All right. Any further questions on this? Oh, Representative Lugar Nicolai.
Yes, I would just like to ask, so I've had a chance to look at the fiscal note, and can you tell me a little bit more about the cost savings on the absorbed cost?
Representative, could you grab the microphone a little closer for you?
Oh my
Thank
gosh,
you.
sorry, I'm not used to this table. Looking at the fiscal note on page 4, can you just tell me a little bit more about the absorbed cost? Because that looks like a pretty substantial savings in fiscal year 2027.
Representative Kraft.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, Representative. So this section, as I read through it, and we can also have others come and talk about it, but is what some programming changes and things that would needed to be done, and they said that would be an absorbed cost. And my supposition is that this organization does a bunch of work for them on an ongoing basis to adjust the systems needed to collect these items, and so it's being rolled into normal costs of things.
Thank you very much, Representative Kraft. Any further questions, Representative Lugar Nicolai?
No, that'll do her.
All right, thank you, Representative Kraft, for bringing this bill forward. I really appreciate it. I know that there is a DE amendment. We're just laying it over, so I encourage you to work with the author of the bill to figure that out before it comes back in the future. I also thank you, Representative Kraft, for bringing this bill to show very clearly that in the last session, Republicans raised taxes in the transportation bill, and Representative Kraft is trying to cut taxes in the transportation bill. So closing comments, Representative Kraft.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I want this to be the beginning of a conversation. I'm open to all ideas, but I think we can get to something that's more balanced.
Chair Koznick.
It appears that you're closing the bill. We have 2 members with amendments, and I had a closing comment.
Okay, you can have
question.
closing comments. This is being laid over, and so Representative Kraft will work with the authors of the amendment, and we'll move forward from there.
Well, thank you then. I don't know that that's fair to the members that prepared their amendments on this bill, knowing that it is for discussion. But Representative Kraft, I talked to some of the advocates on this again during interim. We talked about the gas tax equivalency, which is basically the whole point of the bill. Does your bill factor in, or how does it factor in federal gas taxes?
Representative Kraft.
Thank you, Mr. Chair and Chair Koznick. It doesn't base its calculations on federal gas tax.
Representative Chair Koznick.
Well, thank you. And I didn't think it did, so that's the answer that I was expecting. And when we have this whole discussion, we are forgetting that traditional vehicles are also paying a federal gas tax, and we get federal tax dollars into the state. And so your calculations are missing what a comparable gas tax in total should be. What I would suggest, if you want to help maintain the system, is that figure out what the total gas tax paid per gallon of gas into your calculations, including the federal gas tax and the state gas tax and the automatic inflator to the gas tax that you put into the state law, and then charge that equivalent until the federal government charges a similar EV fee, and then have a mechanism to automatically withdraw, so our Minnesota taxpayers aren't paying double the federal gas tax. But in the meantime, until the federal government does, we can help do the funding gap by using your calculations for EVs on an equivalent full gas tax comparable.
Thank you, Chair Koznick. Closing comments, Representative Kraft. Very quickly.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair and Chair Koznick. I appreciate the comments. I wanted to start a conversation. So yeah, let's talk about it.
Thank you. With that, House File 3430 as amended is laid over, and we are adjourned.
Mr. Chair, I've got a question.